Actually, a lot of highly respected people thought the Berlin Wall should stay up. That would include Margaret Thatcher and the president of France and a lot of others. Now, that may sound shocking to you, but really it's not so different from what we're witnessing now. Now, today, we're witnessing a lot of well-respected people who are arguing with a straight face that Twitter, one of our main avenues for solving political differences, should remain censored. They're telling you, again with a straight face, that you can't have a democracy where everyone is allowed to participate in the conversation. No. In order to represent the public must be forced to shut up. That's what they're saying. So whose side are you on? The man or the tank? Keep in mind that if you chose the tank, you are by definition a Stalinist. We're not judging, but we thought you should know that. The good news is you've got a lot of company. Here's MSNBC.
There's studies that have been shown that this power can be used to tilt elections if someone were to want to use it that way. It's not enough to just rig law and policy. You want to rig the discourse. You want to make sure you control the terms.
If you own all of Twitter or Facebook or what have you, you don't have to explain yourself. You don't even have to be transparent. You could secretly ban one party's candidate or all of its candidates, all of its nominees, or you could just secretly turn down the reach of their stuff and turn up the reach of something else, and the rest of us might not even find out about it till after the election.
Oh, see, if a billionaire controlled Twitter, you could rig the discourse. That's a fair point. See, the thing about owning a social media company is you could, quote, secretly ban one party's candidate. Or even scarier than that, you could, quote, secretly turn down the reach of their stuff or turn up the reach of something else, and the rest of us might not find out about it until after the election. Yeah, that's a terrifying prospect. Democracy could not withstand that. Let's hope it never happens. What is it about cable television that completely eliminates people's self-awareness? Maybe NIH should do a study on that. It seems like a legitimate health crisis. But we're being slightly unfair in that analysis. We do not mean, certainly, to suggest that it's only Democrats who favor censorship for political ends. Republican leaders support it too. In a phone call reported today by the New York Times, for example, Congressman Kevin McCarthy of California told his close friend Liz Cheney that he hoped the social media companies would censor more conservative Republicans in Congress. Donald Trump, the sitting president, had already been silenced by those companies, but McCarthy wanted the tech oligarchs to do more, to force disobedient lawmakers off the internet. Quote, can't they take their Twitter accounts away too? Those are the tape-recorded words of Congressman Kevin McCarthy, a man who in private turns out sounds like an MSNBC contributor. And yet, unless conservatives get their act together right away, Kevin McCarthy or one of his highly liberal allies like Elise Stefanik is very likely to be Speaker of the House in January. That would mean we will have a Republican Congress led by a puppet of the Democratic Party. So you wouldn't know any of this unless it was leaked. And you can start to see why the people in charge oppose transparency and fervently support censorship on both sides. Why? Because the more you know about them, the less satisfied you're likely to become with their leadership. Here's the eunuch general of CNN's Praetorian Guard warning that the peasants cannot have too much liberty.
If you get invited to something where there are no rules, where there is total freedom for everybody, do you actually want to go to that party? Or are you going to decide to stay home?
Oh, you're going to stay home. Actually, if you let people choose, you never know what they're going to do. For example, CNN just spent more than $250 million on a streaming service that in the end attracted 10,000 viewers. Right, because people had a choice, and that's not what they chose. So if you're part of a company that made a decision like that, you'd be very much in favor of squelching the competition with censorship. Because if you didn't have a monopoly, you would wither and die. People would start asking questions like, why is equity so important again? Why do we care what TV personalities look like? Shouldn't we care about what they do, what they believe, about their characters? Over on The View, host Sunny Hostin is desperately hoping you will never be allowed to ask that question.
On Twitter, it is predominantly straight white men. So when Elon Musk says, wow, this is about free speech, it seems to me that it's about free speech of straight white men.
Elon Musk lives in a world in which the only kind of free speech is white men feeling free to say whatever the hell they want.
Oh. Now, we could rebut those points, and these people are obviously racist, and nobody says anything about it for some reason. But that's not really the big point. The big point, and we're going to restate it because it's the whole point, is this. Anyone who is angered by the prospect of American citizens expressing their opinions is a Stalinist and should be feared. We no longer need to guess who those people are. They have conveniently self-identified. It's a clarifying moment, but it's also a little scary because at this point there is no going back. Once the kidnapper shows you his face, he can't release you. God knows what happens next. The Biden administration has jumped with all four paws into this, signaling it's going to use the weight of the federal government to crush Elon Musk because he wants you to speak freely. The day that Musk announced his intention to buy Twitter, the feds opened a probe into Tesla. That would be his electric car company and the source of the wealth that made it possible for him to buy Twitter. And at the same time, the Biden administration's allies in the media are uniting to defame Elon Musk and destroy him as a man, because that's what they do. He's a racist. They're about to do that to us again. The New York Times editorial board just published a stirring defense of censorship in a newspaper. On Twitter, the Times complained Musk will be free to, quote, body shame people. He can also, quote, poo-poo sound health regulations and shout down critics. And that can't be allowed. Thou shalt not body shame Tony Fauci. Tony Fauci is a very tall man. And by the way, the vaccines work flawlessly. Not very subtle. CNBC was even less subtle, by the way, in its character assassinations. That channel granted anonymity to a source identified as, quote, close to some of the Democratic Party's biggest Silicon Valley mega donors. What did this source come over to CNBC to say? Quote, Musk is a great engineer and businessman, but I would not trust him with my daughter. Oh, so he's a rapist now. Got it. Okay. No evidence whatsoever, but you should be afraid for your daughters because Elon Musk wants free speech. And NBC Nightly News, in between prostate health segments, strongly agrees with that. Watch them tell you that free speech endangers women way more than abortion clinics, TikTok, and Teen Vogue. Watch.
And some critics are concerned that Musk's pursuit of free speech will collide with growing safety problems on Twitter, especially for women and minorities.
Do you trust Elon Musk to make Twitter better for women?
No, I don't trust Elon Musk to make Twitter better for women at all.
Oh, it's bad for women! It's pretty funny. Oh, the rich entitled ladies won't have a voice. Okay. But of course, well, everyone will have a voice, and that's what they're mad about. What they don't want is the coming of diversity, the one thing they say they love. There's no diversity at Twitter. As it stands, 99% of recent political donations from Twitter employees have gone to Democrats. 99%, 98.7% to be precise. Now, how much is that? Well, for perspective, Kim Jong-un got a much smaller level of support from workers at the central Pyongyang steel plant recently. So 99% of anything is a bad sign. It's a terrifying level of conformity. It suggests brain death. But brain death is what they're demanding. And that tells you everything. As Elon Musk himself wrote today, quote, the extreme antibody reaction from those who fear free speech says it all. And it certainly does. Jason Whitlock is